Let's move on to your team here. The Los Angeles Rams, the team that you predicted at the start of the season was going to go on a run, and everyone laughed in your face. I'm pretty sure we had Ariel Epstein on. She was the only person that I can remember who said, yeah, Ziggy, I kind of like this pick of the Rams to go on a bit of a run this season. Because when you looked at it at face value, it was Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Aaron Donald, and then a bunch of nobodies. That's what the Rams were coming into last season. And gosh, they just proved everybody wrong. And by the end of the year, we're one of the most dangerous teams in the league. I think, Ziggy, if they had beaten the Lions, that they were a major threat to go to the Super Bowl. That's how well they were playing.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget they did lose to the Lions, but that was one of the closest games of the entire playoffs, right?
What were they? A penalty away from kicking a game-winning field goal?
And, this Rams team, as we're going into this offseason, the big problem everyone had with them was that they were starting a bunch of unproven rookies at key defensive positions, just about every single one. Well, all those rookies now, many of them played pretty well, but they've got another year of experience.
Yeah, no, I was looking today along the inside. I think on this Rams team, the offseason goal has to be improving the defense. We'll talk about the offense in a second. But on defense, you have Aaron Donald there. Kobe Turner was really good on the inside with him, a rookie. You drafted another rookie in Byron. Oh, was it Byron Young, I believe, had 8 sacks this year for them.
I believe that's the most of any rookie in the league.
Yeah, so you hit on 2 rookies there. I mean, obviously, we know Puka and Kyren Williams were amazing on the offensive side of the ball. But if they can shore up that secondary and get another edge rusher to come in, you could potentially look at a Josh Allen or a Brian Burns. There is free agent money that could be spent there. All of a sudden, if this defense gets things together, I think we're looking at the Rams as the most underrated Super Bowl contender of 2024.
Yeah, I mean, this is the most resources the Rams have had going into an offseason in quite some time. They've got basically all their draft picks, including their first-round draft pick since Jared freaking Goff.
Isn't that insane that they've gone that long without a first-round pick?
Yeah.
And are still this competitive?
It's unbelievable what Les Snead has been able to do. He has been able, more than anyone else in the NFL, to consistently identify late-round cheap talent at key positions, right? I mean, it's not just the defense. Puka Nacua was a revelation last year. So you look at what the Rams have been able to do, there's no reason to believe they're not going to be competitive.
I actually think Matthew Stafford's the best quarterback in the NFC heading into next season. I know that we broke that down on a recent episode, but the way that he came back this year and played, when he was in, I mean, we saw what the Rams looked like without him. I think they had, was it one game with Scott Tolzien against the Packers?
Terrible.
I mean, that
typical Packers luck, by the way.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Packers luck. Matthew Stafford could take this team from, the young, inexperienced, likely to get blown out a few times to legitimate Super Bowl contender. I thought he was phenomenal all year. And then you look at, we mentioned Puka and Kyren Williams. Listen to the numbers. Puka had 105 receptions for 1,486 yards last year, 6 touchdowns. I didn't realize throughout much of the year. I knew Puka was great. I had him on my fantasy team, watched him all the time, loved him. I didn't realize until late in the season just how many yards he was putting up. And Kyren, our guy from ND, one thing about Kyren Williams that I've always loved is the work ethic. Dude was 6th string running back going into his sophomore year at Notre Dame, battled his way up the entire offseason. I mean, the guy just works and works and works, grinds and grinds and grinds. Great teammate. And you could tell very quickly from the moment he got in, he was going to be useful to this Rams team. He ends with 1,144 yards and 12 touchdowns in only 12 games. They go get another receiver to pair with Cooper Kupp and Puka. I think we're talking about a very, very dangerous offense.
There is one thing to watch out for, though, which is the Rams are going to need some help on the offensive line. Brian Allen and Joe Noteboom, they've been inconsistent, but they have been decent contributors. Coleman Shelton did a good job stepping in, but they're going to need some replacements on the offensive line. That's going to be one thing to watch. But if they can get just 1 or 2 more good offensive linemen and a couple pieces on defense, as you say, I think this team is a real shot to run the NFC.
Here's the last thing I want to ask you before we move on to the Seattle Seahawks. I just want to know, better chance of making the Super Bowl next year, okay? I'm going to ask you, Rams or Cowboys?
I think you have to go Cowboys.
See, I think I might go Rams. Rams or Eagles?
Rams.
Agree. Rams or Lions?
Lions.
I think that one's really close. It's hard not to say Detroit right now, but especially with the
it could go either way.
You know, I think I go Rams. I think I go Rams again. Rams or Packers?
Oh, you know the answer to that. The Packers have the better quarterback, so it's got to be them.
And then I'm assuming 49ers we both agree on.
Yeah, it's the 49ers. Indeed, if the Rams were in a different division, I think they'd have a good chance.
I know, right? You know what? That's a great point when talking about going to the Super Bowl. The division it's very unfortunate that they have San Francisco there because I think I'd take them to win any other division in the NFC. I don't know how. Maybe it's your effect, but I'm really bullish on the Rams heading into the next year. I could not believe what I saw this season.
Yeah, but you never know how these division odds are going to go, right?
Yep.
Like the favorites last season included the Jets were favorites for a while, Joe Burrow, the Eagles. No one had the Buccaneers winning. So there's always room for things to surprise you. It would not surprise me if the Rams won the division.
And from there, and it's funny. Just a couple of weeks ago, we did the NFC contenders. I think I had them at 6, but just recently, listening to some Eagles podcasts, I bump them above Philly. And then they're right there on that, like 5 or 4, depending on what you do with Detroit. And I think I put them ahead of Dallas too right now. It's going to be a tough offseason question to have. But yeah, future looks really bright, at least the near future for the Rams. We'll see what happens once they have to consider the future at quarterback. But